Hi, welcome to MI305 Methods and Strategy North American Church Planning here at Piedmont, and I am Dustin Connor, professor for this course. But as you'll notice as the course goes, I am only one of several voices that you'll be hearing. I'll explain that here in a little bit, but we begin week one. This is a 15-week online class, and we're beginning week one, and we're going to for this video segment, we're going to just review the syllabus, kind of get acquainted with that, explain the assignments, and then get you guys and ladies started in the right direction. So let's look at the syllabus. If you want to go ahead and pull that out, pause this video, grab that. I am an online only professor. I was on staff at Piedmont on the campus for 3.5 years and taught this class first time actually in a live class doing the flip model with live video, different things, and some online components. This is the first time I'll be teaching it completely online. Me and my family are moving to Calgary, Alberta, Canada from Winston-Salem, North Carolina at the end of January 2017 to plant churches in the city. And so we'll be doing exactly what we're talking about in this course. And so it's going to be kind of fun. You'll first the 4 or 5 months of this course will be cool to kind of track along as we're going and implementing what we'll be discussing in the class. And so look forward to being with you. So with that, best way to contact me is through my email. You see my cell phone number here. That is good at least through the end of February, but that will change to a local Calgary number once we move up there. And so feel free to text me on that number. It's completely fine. But the email address is the best way to communicate with me. And I do apologize. I've been a little bit late in getting some of this stuff up and ready. We move in 2 weeks to another country, so things are chaotic at the moment, and so I won't go into any detail, but I do apologize. Some of this, even this video, I wanted to have up a couple days ago. But thank you for being patient with me and helping figure this out. So let's look at the syllabus, walk through it. Mission, vision statement of the school, course description. We're discussing church planning models and approaches, strategies. Just as the course says, the methods and the strategies involved. We see church planting that we will define it as an evangelism strategy by how it's implemented. Jesus never commanded us to plant churches. He commanded us to make disciples. But we saw in the book of Acts that church planting was one of the means of doing so. So it's more of an evangelism strategy than it is, I guess, a biblical mandate. But we see the natural byproduct of making disciples was new churches started. So we'll get to that. So we're going to learn to develop and implement a missional ecclesiology for leading new churches and making disciples and reproducing churches that will impact their projected context, your community, your city, through the gospel. We will have a lot of emphasis on relevant church planning approaches, looking at trends and demographics, how that relates to us researching an area, networking and with other agencies and churches, partnership development, raising funds, some of the legal issues for a new church. We'll be looking at setting up leadership systems for a new church plant, organizing small groups, all these type of things that just that go along with starting a new church. And so that's what we'll be discussing throughout the rest of this course. Course delivery methods. Online course, so just follow Blackboard. It would have everything that you need inside the weekly assignments tabs. Program objectives met by this course. So this is one course in the church planning minor. So some of you are taking it because you're in the minor. It's a required course. Others are taking it as a ministry elective. So however you're taking this course, I'm just glad you're in the class and excited to have you learning with us the realm of church planting and what it looks like for a North American context, specifically the U.S. and Canada. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But you're going to develop a theology of mission appropriate for the North American context. First of all, implementing a missional ecclesiology for leading congregation and reproducing disciples in churches. Exegete North American culture in order to properly contextualize the gospel. That's handled in another class. And then reproduce what you learned through an extensive internship. So these are the program descriptions, and this particular course helps with number 2. We will be exegeting North American culture, understanding that in order to produce a church that really fits that well. And so our course objectives, we will be trying to give a clear understanding of what we want to accomplish and how we're going to measure that. That's the idea of objectives and measurements. And so our objective, first of all, is to describe the 5 phases of starting a new church and relate them to scriptural principles. And so the course is actually frameworked. The frame of the course is the 5 phases of church planning that that we're going to go in a lecture later this week. And to measure that, you're going to be working on the prospectus project. We're going to explain that. Your lecture content will cover this, your weekly reading quizzes, and even your action journaling. Second objective, we want to understand and reproduce the various components, the kind of nuts and bolts, the what to dos required in preparing, launching, establishing, and multiplying new churches. And so while we're looking at the nuts and the bolts, we're also going to answer the questions of the why, how, why are we planting churches? How has God wired me to do this? So we'll be answering a lot of those while we're talking about how do we go about naming a church? How do we get 501c3 status? How do we start having how do we find a meeting location? All those things. And so we will measure your understanding of that objective through the Prospectus Project, your independent research, teaching video, which we'll get to, and then, of course, evaluating the course content through quizzes and other things. Third one there, articulate governance, role, structure, and legal compliance with the new church. You need to be able to communicate that you understand these, and your Prospectus Project, the lectures, and your involvement with those, and your weekly reading quizzes, which covers textbook and some other articles. We'll cover that. And then, of course, design a church planting prospectus. We want you to be able to have the experience of walking through, putting together a prospectus, which is here's what I'm proposing to do as far as a new church. And we'll give you a lot of examples of those. I'll show you mine and look at some other really good examples as you're making one yourself. And so course materials here, 2 textbooks. Dave and John Ferguson wrote the book Exponential a few years back. It's actually the Exponential Conference came out of this book idea in a lot of ways. They helped start the conference, which is probably the largest church planting conference in the U.S. right now. Exponential, how you and your friends can start a missional church movement. And so that is the first course textbook. You actually won't use it to the end, toward the end. And then Statzer's Planting Missional Churches, the second edition. Make sure you get the second edition. It's got a different cover. The first edition has like an orange, yellow type cover. Second one has like a white and bluish color. But if you go into the online bookstore for Piedmont, the one listed there is the second edition. If you were in the MI304, the disciple making class that we just finished this past semester, you should already have that book because we actually used pieces of it in the previous class. So those are your 2 things you need. The required resources, you'll need Google Drive, which you have being a Piedmont student. You have Google apps as part of your academic package there. So Google Drive we'll use a lot. You're going to use Google Docs a lot. You're going to use Google Slides for a project. And you need to be familiar with some live video software because you will have some collaborative times where you're going to get together via Skype, FaceTime, Hangouts, or something and collaborate with your team on this new church plant. And the recommended resources, the Bible in your own brain. So a little bit in jest there, but you're going to use both. All right, so let's look at our course requirements and assignments, and feel free to email any questions that you have about the syllabus. Everything that you see here in the syllabus will be detailed and outlined in Blackboard to walk you through. Each week you go into the weekly assignment and it'll have listed everything that you need to accomplish, what videos you need to watch, what reading you need to do, the quiz you need to take, prompts for your prospectus project and your other projects. So all that will be in Blackboard, so follow that. Course requirements. First of all, course content evaluation. You're going to have a lot of good content coming your way, not from me, but from a lot of others. So your textbook reading, you'll have some articles, some pieces of some free ebooks that I'll be sending as PDFs, and they'll be able for you to download inside of Blackboard. And so a lot of the content pulling from a lot of sources, and a lot of the lecture videos, I'll be doing some of those, but I'm not doing all of them. The first time we had this class, I think we had 22 guest speakers. And you're like, well, why so many guest speakers? Well, I have been involved in church planting for years, but I have yet to be an actual kind of a lead church planter myself. Though I'd been in the realm, I studied it academically, I've been a part of some church planting teams and things, and so the best way for me to actually do this class was to bring in some experienced practitioners from all over the country, and in Canada, from Canada as well. We had a guy from Toronto speaking to a class, and so you'll be getting some of those videos from the last time we taught this class, and plus some fresh ones that I'm am in the process of making. A few we've recorded already, and so you'll get some fresh content, but just good ideas based on the topics we're walking through. And so you'll get some stuff from me, but you'll get a lot more stuff from a lot of our guest speakers. So your reading and your lecture videos, those and any articles I post or any other PDFs or anything, I consider those your course content. So to evaluate that, you'll have a weekly quiz, just to make sure you're watching the videos, you're doing your reading, you're keeping up with all the content we want you exposed to for this class. And so at the end of it, at the end of each week, you'll have a weekly quiz, just kind of recapping, making sure that you have watched videos and that you've read. And those quizzes together combine to a 25% of your final grade. So the next part of the project, next part of your class is the church planting prospectus. Now this is the big one. This particular project is actually worth 50% of your total grade. There's two parts to it, but you're going to be put together in a team. You'll be put together with another student, and you will work together to basically plant a church on paper. Now, a prospectus is a well-developed, kind of comprehensive plan used to convey your vision for planting a new church in a specific area. And so I'll give you some samples so you can kind of see what a prospectus is, but it helps you lay out, here's what we're going after with our mission and our vision, our value statements, our strategy, our timeline, our financial needs, and different approaches, and your team, and different things like that, even your beliefs. And so what the prospectus does, it helps you kind of formalize and put things down, but it also helps when you're recruiting partners, you're recruiting team members to come join your church plant, or you're talking with fellow churches and leaders and individuals who may give financially to your work. It gives them an idea of here's what you're proposing. So that's what a prospectus is. It's a simple document that really kind of sets the stage and helps guide for a lot of what you're going to do for your church plant. So you're going to put together a prospectus, but you're going to do it in two parts. The first part, just simply part A and part B. The first part is a research document. You'll be working on this all semester starting this week, and you'll have several questions each week that your team needs to answer. Now, I'll be sending out here soon. I have to figure out your team tonight, but figure out your team. Your team will receive a Google Doc. You'll access it through your Google Drive. A link will come to your email. You click it, and you have full editing capabilities. Now, if you're not familiar with Google Docs, it is a kind of a live Word doc. And so as you're typing, you can have multiple people typing on the same document at the same time. You kind of see live what they're adding, but it looks like a Word document with all those type of features. So you'll be have one of those shared with your teammate, and you will go back and forth answering questions and figuring things out. So you'll be doing things like researching the specific community that you select to plant this church on paper in. You'll be making phone calls to local pastors in that area. You actually will have to do that and report how the conversation went, saying, hey, I'm doing a class project, but we're examining church planting in your area, and you'll have some questions to ask them. You have to look at some demographic analysis. What is the average income of your community? How many other churches are within a 1 to 5 mile radius? Have you found a meeting location? What are some possible meeting locations if you're going to be a mobile church, you don't have your own property? There are some movie theaters or storefronts or schools, and you'll be researching things about even crafting like a vision mission statement. You'll have to find some links for some other things, and the idea is this research part is going to help you produce the actual prospectus document itself. So you do the back-end research, which is going to be several dozens of pages long that you'll work on together. But it helps you get into part B. And so you'll see here that this part A for this research document that you'll work on together, there's a comment feature in Google Docs that you'll be required to use to bounce back ideas and to say, hey, see you added this, you did this part. One of you will become the lead pastor of this church plant. In other words, that's just going to be the team leader says, okay, I'll be the one to make sure it all gets done, to oversee it, the research document production, the Part B production, and just kind of keep up and make sure everything is flowing correctly. But you'll see here that the class is in 5 segments, basically, as we go through the 5 phases of getting a new church started. And so you'll see when these assignments are due. So these are the due dates based on the content for the week. So if you look down, when you see the bottom of the syllabus, you'll see that even your course assignments and reading and lectures are all fitting around multiple weeks, going in envisioning, preparing, launching, establishing, and repeating. And so the questions you have that I'm putting into the document for you will be due by all of these dates. And so there'll be some periodic due dates as you see below, and the final product due at the end of the semester. This one research document, Part A, is worth 35%, so just note that. Part B is the more creative side, creative part of the presentation, where you will use Google Slides, which is kind of like PowerPoint, but live collaborative, and you can collaborate live on it. And so you're going to make a Google slide as if it was a printed prospectus, and I'll show you why Google Slides I think fits best for it because of what you're making. But it's kind of summarizing, bringing down to almost like a pamphlet that you would hand to somebody. Here's the area we're going to. Here's why we're going there. The percentage of lostness, number of churches, the need, that sort of thing. Here's who we're going with. Here's our team. Here's our vision. Here's our mission statement. Here's the core values that are guiding what we're doing. Here's our strategy for how we're going to plant this church. And here's our timeline of when things will happen. So you put this together in a very simple document so that you can print and hand to somebody and say, here's what we're going after, and it gives them something to know what they're partnering with. Or it helps a future team member know what they're getting themselves into. So this part is worth 15% of the grade. You'll work on it toward the end of the semester. You can work on it as you go, and I'll be giving some prompts throughout. But it is due April 17th, so it's the creative side, and I'll give you several examples of some really good ones, and some of some you can pick out which ones may need a little more work. But it give you plenty of examples so you can see what we're talking about, and you know how to make one for yourself. So once you do the research part, it gives you all the information you need for this part. This is just putting together, making it look pretty. You'll also be required to meet via live video with your team at least 5 times throughout this semester. That's almost once a month. And 2 of those times, I will be joining your team. And so we will have 3 teams for this particular semester. So for 2 of those times, you're going to schedule those. You'll let me know when those are going to be. I'll pick the 2 that fits my schedule that I can join in, and then I will be joining in just to kind of check in, help where I can, answer some questions, that sort of thing. So you will be required to meet 5 times, almost monthly, throughout this semester. You will schedule that. You will determine that yourself. And then you will let me know those dates, and I will pick the 2 that I will join myself. So it could be Skype, Google Hangouts, or FaceTime. The next part of the assignments here is your independent presentation. This is for you individually. There's a lot of collaboration in this class, as you can already tell. But I want you to kind of mine into something that's a little more of interest to you. So you're going to pick any topic of interest that we discuss in the course. I'll give you some examples. Various church planting models. We're going to look at the 6 kind of standard church planting models and what they mean and which context they fit best in. Or you may be really interested in developing leadership pipelines for house churches. There's a lot of kind of minute topics, and it may not be one that we mine into deeply, but it gets you thinking, well, how would I do X? Things about maybe logo design and branding for new churches and what that means. I mean, there's all kinds of places and ideas for this. So I want you to kind of have the freedom to select a topic of interest, and you're just going to simply produce a 10-minute teaching video. That can be shared to the other students. You'll be graded on. And this teaching video is you have researched this topic. Let's say it's the various church planting models. And your 10-minute teaching video is going to explain the 5 or 6 that you have chosen, your explanation and teaching of those. And what you're going to turn in, you're going to upload a video, and you're going to turn in the outline of that. So if you have the 6 church planting models, I want to outline with a little bit of filler to kind of know. You don't need a full, it's not a 10-page paper. This is simply an outline of your talk, of your lecture, so to speak. And you also want to give the sources you use, and there's a source requirement there, minimum of 10 sources, at least 4 of which should be books. And you can look at the bottom of this syllabus for some good sample books that may help, or there could be some good ebooks online. And if you need to have some extra ideas that aren't listed, then you're, okay, what books do I go to for the various church planting models? Well, I would be happy to recommend a handful for you to look into. Maybe you can check out from a local library if you're near one that has a near theological library, or one that you can maybe borrow from some churches or leaders in your area. So you're going to upload a 10-minute video and a 1-page document with the outline and the sources. I'm not going to be grading it for clarity of the outline and how it forms. It's not an English class, but I do want to know the content of what you're saying. just as an outline. And that's 10% of your grade as well. Have fun with this. Explore something that you've always wondered about in church planting. And if you have questions about your topic, please let me know. I'll be checking in partway through the semester to make sure you've chosen a topic and just to see how I can help. Next to last, we have your scripture reading. This is something I've done in every single class that I've taught at Piedmont, and I've always loved it. And it's probably one of the favorite part of the class for me. Each student will be added to a live Google Doc where you will journal through the book of Acts. And so you'll be required to do 2 chapters a week, and you will basically, and I'll give you a sample and show what I'm looking for. But it's basically 3 to 5 sentences. You want to get a passage. Let's say you're in Acts 1. You don't have to do all the verses of Acts 1. You can choose just the first 6 or 7 verses, or just 8 through 15 or something. You're going to pick a passage inside of the chapter, and you're going to give just a good summary. But you're going to have to answer the question: how is it related to church planting? You're going to answer 2 questions. How is it related to church planting? How would we apply it? But also, what does the text mean? So you're going to look at what it means and how do we apply it. Very, very simple, very straightforward, but you'll be journaling that. So that Google Doc will give you all the info you need for what to do and how to upload that. And that's also 10% of your grade. 28 chapters in the book, so 28 submissions equals 100. Simple as that. I'm not grading for your exegetical abilities, though we want you to demonstrate that because you've had other classes like hermeneutics and biblical interpretation at Piedmont and maybe some other schools. So I want to see some of that, but I'm not looking for a full exegesis manuscript for a sermon. That's not what this is. This is very devotional and very applicational. And the last one, this is going to be kind of fun. As you're going to be researching for your perspectives project, you can come across a lot of articles online, blog posts, links to things, all that sort of stuff, and so videos and everything. So what I want you to do is help some other students out and help each other out. As you find some of these links, you're going to upload those to a Google Doc as well. I like Google Docs, you see why. But you're going to just simply copy and paste the link. You're going to have your name. It's going to be Dustin Connor with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 links. Okay, that's it. That's all it is. Links should be helpful, and I'll have on there, you have the link, and you'll say, this is good for looking at church planting models. A 1-sentence description of the link. That's it. Okay, so you can put that on. That's 5% of your grade, and this is something that as I was grading these a year and a half ago when we first did the class, I was seeing, the different teams had all kind of great different content and links and things. I'm like, we should probably share this with everybody. So that's the purpose of this, is just really to have a good place to share. And there is no midterm or final exam. Hoorah! So anyways, this class just really doesn't lend to exams. You have a weekly quiz that kind of covers that. So you kind of see your weekly quiz as mini tests each week. They're not going to be super tough. They're not going to be 50 questions or anything like that. 8 to 10 questions at the most, covering your course content. That's your weekly quizzes. But your perspectives project is a big part of your grade. You'll be working on that a lot throughout the semester. And your independent research video on your selected topic, that's kind of like your final exam in a way that you'll be, so almost like an oral exam that you're giving. So I want to see how you're learning. I want to see how you're understanding the content, how you're going to implement it, and that sort of thing. And so there is no midterm or final exam, but you have a lot of other things that you'll be submitting. Read through these, professor interaction and whatnot. Course grading, there's your percentages and different things. You're familiar with all this stuff. This is things that Piedmont puts on there. So read those. Please be a person of integrity. Trust your honesty in this class. This is an online class, and I'm not there to watch. But for your course-specific policies there, Blackboard, it's an online class. Just follow Blackboard. Let it be your guide each week. And just know that I kind of operate on a Tuesday morning through the following Monday night is a week. And so we started class Tuesday, the 10th, and so the class runs, this week goes to next Monday, the 16th. So your weekly quiz, anything else that is due, it will be due on a Monday by 11:59 p.m. So you can kind of keep that. It makes it simple. If you're wondering, do I have anything due? It's going to be on a Monday. Academic integrity and misconduct, please review that. That school gives. Here's our course schedule. Not going to go into each of these individually, but you see the week, the topic, and the assignments that fit. So inside this topic, when it has, I gave a question that this is the bigger picture question we want to answer that week, but just know that we may be examining 2 or 3 subtopics fitting to that. So for an example, this in week 2, when will I know I am called and ready to plant churches? We're going to talk about calling. We're going to talk about the assessment process. We're going to talk about character in church planting. So those are some extra 3, and each of those will be a separate video that fit, but they answer that question. So When we're looking at other things, evangelism strategies, we'll look at types of methods. We'll look at some curriculum. We'll hear from a practitioner in the area who does this, and so you'll get different subtopics fitting the main topical question we're going to answer. So you see that they're all are a question. Where is God leading me? How is God leading me to do it? Who's God leading to partner with? How do we get to where God has called us? What is involved? These are really what you're going to learn. Church planting is about asking a lot of questions and working to find the answers. That's church planting. It's ministry in general. So these questions will guide you through the phases. You'll see the phases listed on the left side. So we're in the visioning phase here. We transition to the prepare phase, then the launch phase, then the establish phase, and then the repeating phase. And so we'll be looking at several topics inside of each of those, several voices. But you'll see here on the right your assignments. Follow each of these. These are things that will all be listed in Blackboard. So always look at if something's maybe not available in Blackboard, you can't see it yet, you can go here and see what you need to be reading, which chapters and acts you need to be journaling, other things you can be working on. So everything will be listed here, and it'll be listed inside of Blackboard. And notice your spring break here. You'll be excited about that. And then the last bit is, of course, the bibliography. Here are some church books, all related to some way, shape, or form to church planting, church multiplication, and disciple making for a lot of them. So use these. These are most of these I've read, not all of them, but a lot of these are really good, trusted resources that will help with all the various questions that go on in church planting. And so, well, that is the syllabus. And so, welcome to MI305 for spring 2017. And if you have any questions, please let me know.